parsing Swedish SIE files from bas accounting to SIE file export to annual report to Bolagsverket. So I've been experimenting and creating this GitHub project that lives here, parsing SIE files to generate an annual report to Swedish Bolagsverket. So every Swedish accounting application can export accounting information in this SIE file format. And Swedish accounting application uses this bas accounting plan. The SIE file format lives here, and the bas accounting information lives here.
If you like my videos, feel free to do nothing.
Just grab a cup of coffee
and enjoy.
Welcome to this SIE file parsing episode. The goal of this episode is to identify these trans entries that registers amounts to these accounts, and from this data generate the annual report I want to send to the Swedish Bolagsverket each year. So how can I accomplish this? So here we have a naive implementation of an SIE parser, and we store the result in an instance of this class SIE file entries. And SIE file entries is simply a standard vector of SIE file entry that in turn is this class that simply contains tokens and sub-entries. And tokens are simply a standard vector of strings, and sub-entries in turn is a standard vector of tokens. When running this program, we see it formats an output of the parsed SIE file content, and we are interested in specifically these entries identified by #VER, and this is this SIE file entry, and this entry has these sub-entries #trans that will be stored in this type. So what we see here is modeled as these tokens for the main entry, the SIE file entry, and then we have these sub-entries, each of these. From my own notes doing this annual report to Bolagsverket, we can see that one of the first things we're going to put into the report is this change in the company's capital. And the amounts are in the bookkeeping, the account keeping, and we need the amounts registered to these accounts, the 2081, 2091 and 2099. And we see that we need to get the ingoing amount at the beginning of the year. We need all the changes during the year, and then we need to sum up the end outgoing balance for these accounts. And here's an example of the grouping in the SIE file that we need to parse and extract these values. So here we see an accounting to the account 2099, and it's a sub-entry of the entry A101. And we can see we have here an amount registered to 2099, 2098, 2089 and 2098. From the SIE file entries, we need an additional data. These entries called #IB and #UB. And these are the ingoing balance and outgoing balance for all these accounts. So here we have, for example, the 2099 ingoing balance marked with #IB, and the amount is here. So we need to take this into account when performing this calculation. So let's create a naive implementation of this. We need to create an annual report, so we make a type for that, and we delegate the creation to a function, and that function of course is going to take the parsed SIE files like that, and I'm just going to naively implement it here before main. So I have something like this, and I'm going to make implement this class here like that, and the parameter to this function is of course this, and for now we just naively pass it by value. So I'm going to use a professionally generated annual report, and let's begin with this amount. This is the amount capital bound to shares in my company. So it's in the section change of capital, and this is the row for the entry of the year, and this is the share value, the values of the share in the company. So from I can feed my program with the SIE file for this period, and let's see what we get. We get all these entries, and here they come. We have the hashtag ingoing balance and hashtag outgoing balance here, and we want the 2081. Where is that? There it is. But we have to be careful here because we have a parameter here, 0. And if we go to the definition of ingoing balance, we see that this is the year number. And it's possible for this to be 0, which means it's for the current year, or -1 for previous years, and -2 and -3 for years before that. So if we run our program, we see that here we have 0, but if we continue running, we get also here, let's see, 2081. Of course it's the same amount because it hasn't changed, but here we have the parameter -1. So when we fetch this value, we have to be careful to get this 0 entry and not the -1 entry. So I prepared here with making the annual report just a standard vector of annual report entry, and annual report entry is just a caption and a value. Let's see how that goes. And so this create annual report has a result of this type, and it returns the result. I like to do my functions like this. So let's compile this and see that we have everything we need. And of course we haven't. Oh, typo. Like that. Okay, that's better. So let's create this first entry and see where we get. We do this naively as usual. So we take this result and we push back something here. So what are we going to push back? Well, we're going to push back create annual report entry. And the entry we're going to create is from we're going to get the EB amount from SIE file entries, and we're going to get provide the parameters here, the 0 index and the account 2081. I think that's a good one. Let's format this so we can read it. Where are we? We are here. Okay, this is now. We're going to push back create annual report entry, and the report entry. Oh, the entry, we need a caption for that. So we do it like that, and I put my separators on the beginning of each line. So that seems good enough. So now we need to implement these. And we're going to do that where? We're going to do that here. So we need this. And of course this is going to return this type. So the create annual report entry will take first parameter that is a string, that is a caption, and the second one we're going to make an SIE file amount like that. Okay, so now we have this one, and we implement that here. So we need class SIE file amount like that. So this one returns that one, and the first parameter here is of course one of these, and I'm going to pass it by reference, of course, like that. And the second one is just an int, which is the year index, and the last one is a string, which is an account number, like that. Okay, just finishing up here, we need this one to return this result, and we need this one to return this result. Like that. Let's see if this compiles. Probably not. I always forget that. Yeah. Okay, let's take it from here. So let's make this create annual report entry to actually return something. So we provide the caption and the amount, and we want to create this entry. So I think for now I'm going to make it easy and change this to that, so that I can actually just take these two and get this to work. I'll find out later if this is a good idea. And let's make two more refactorings here. Firstly, this is unnecessary. I can just return this like that. And then let's pass this whole file entries by constant reference, so we don't make a copy there. Let's refactor in some failsafe here. So we define an optional for this amount value, and we make it a standard optional of that. And of course we need to include optional, and then propagate this through. So where did it go? It's there. So firstly we let the annual report contain one of these. We let get EB amount return one of these, and we let create annual report actually accept one of these. So now this should be okay. Let's see. Yes, let's implement this get EB amount. So what we can do is we can use the standard find if, and that one will return an iterator. So we do like this, find if, and the argument to find if is a range, and the range we're going to search, of course, is these entries begin, and I put my separator at the beginning of each line, so we have like that, and here we're going to provide a predicate, and the predicate is going to be a lambda. So we know that find if will provide the members of this range as a const reference, and so we know we are going to get a const reference to a file entry, and we are going to return some logical expression here. And the logical expression is that this entry now must comply with being the correct entry and the correct year index. So if we check the specification, we see that the in balance is tagged with IB. So we need to access the entry here. And now we have a problem because this is a const reference. So we need these accessors to be const, so that we allow for tokens and sub-entries to be accessed also on const objects. And where were we? Now we're here. And now we can take tokens. And tokens we know are a vector, so we know index 0 is the first one here. So we want this one to be hashtag IB. That's the first one. And that's not enough. We need a second one. And I arrange them like that so I can read it. We want now that entry, tokens, and we want year number, which is the index, to be 0 for current year, and that's index 0, index 1. So to access it here, we need index 1. And of course we provide an integer here, so we use standard toString year index, and in the lambda we need to capture year index, so we get it there, and we are missing a parenthesis, and the return statement is like that. And of course now we have to check that the find if has found something. So we want iter to not be the end iterator here. This is something. So if we don't get the end iterator, we know that we want to set result to the amount, because we're going to return the amount. And of course the amount is this string value here. So we have in our vector we have 0, 1, 3, 4. So we're going to take the iterator we got, we're going to take tokens, we're going to just assume that there are actually 4 parameters. So we take the 4th one. And finally we have one problem, and that's okay, I already fixed that. Now I made it into a struct. So the file amount is now a struct that has a string amount, and that means I can use this syntax. So an initializer, assign it to an initializer, and hopefully now this will be fine. Fingers crossed. Yes. To follow the coding guidelines we need for find if, we need to include algorithm. So for some reason it compiled without, but if I can spell. And now we're ready to test this. So let's dump this annual report we have here. So we can use a range for loop. Can even do this, I think. Using east const. And it's this annual report. And here we are going to just stream it. So we begin with a new line, and then we just stream the entry. And for us to be able to do that, we need entry to be streamable, and that's easily fixed. Just cut and paste and overload this kind of operator for the annual report entry. And we cut and paste. So for an annual report entry, we implement it as first print the caption, and then if this optional, if entry value, then we stream that one. So we can actually do this. Add a tab here, like that, and here we dereference the value and stream out the amount. Otherwise, we just stream out the text null. So let's see if I got that correct. Yes, okay. Let's try it. Okay, so we get a runtime error here, illegal hardware instruction. And I think it's because I implemented the streaming operator the wrong way. We are going to use this output stream and not mess around with this standard out stream. So let's change this and this. See that it compiles. Yes. And now we run this, and we have to go through all the debug outputs. Okay, still illegal hardware instruction. So what am I doing here? I'm streaming the caption, and then I'm check if m value is correct, and then I dereference that. Oh, I see. I also have to return OS. Okay. So now maybe everything is okay. Yes, okay, success. I forgot to check for the account number here, so I have to add to this predicate in the get EB amount that we want one of these, and the account number is 012, so we want argument number 2 to be this account number, and of course now we have to also capture that one. Okay, so the final test. So we dump the created annual report here with the dumping of the begin and end, and then we loop each entry. And if I run this, I parse it, I dump the parsed entries, and finally annual report begin end, and we have fetched this amount. So success for this for now. See you in the next session.
If you like my videos, feel free to do nothing. Just grab a cup of coffee
and enjoy.